Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com.
Very pleased to be joined by Steve Keener, old friend. Big week, big couple of weeks coming up. Steve, welcome back to the show. Great to have you with us.
Hey, Steve. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you around this time of year.
Absolutely. Okay, so the field is there. I mean, it's set.
Yep.
What's intriguing to you about it? What makes it exciting? What makes it fresh for you?
Well, Steve, what makes it fresh is what it has done for the last 76 years. That's kids.
Yeah.
The kids don't change. A lot of things change, and whether it's good or bad. But the one thing that stays constant is 11 and 12-year-old kids that are excited and playing baseball and having fun, and meeting kids from all corners of the world. That's really what gets, every year I kind of get renewed energy by just watching them. And but we do have a few new things this year.
Yeah.
You may or may not be aware. This is the first year we have a team representing Cuba in the World Series.
I was about to talk to you about that because I remember when Uganda got there.
Yeah.
I did a game over at the Cutters, and the fans gave the team from Uganda a standing ovation. It was great. Having a team from Cuba there is tremendous.
Yeah, they're a great bunch of kids. Their coaches are terrific. We've had a relationship with the Cuban Baseball Federation now for the last 4 years. And so this is the first time we've had them here in Williamsport. But really looking forward to having, anybody that kind of follows baseball at all knows what a passion the Cubans have for the sport. And it was really the only Caribbean island that we didn't have any affiliation in. And so very happy to have that. In fact, one little kind of news note about the team, which is kind of neat. There's one of the youngest players on their team is a young boy named Alfredo Despanje. And Alfredo's father has been on the Cuban national team for 17 years. He's a designated hitter on the team. And I actually had a chance to meet him in Miami at the World Baseball Classic. And he told me he was more nervous for his son coming to play in Williamsport than he was facing the U.S. team in the semifinals of the WBC that night. So that'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. His dad's over in Japan playing professionally now, so he won't be able to watch him, but I'm sure he'll be able to see him on television.
Steve, what did it take to get the Cuban Little League into the mix? Because obviously steps have to be taken to do something like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but the good thing about it is that their youth baseball structure in Cuba very much mirrored what we already do. I mean, for example, they play on what they call municipal teams, which are throughout the island of Cuba, there's a lot of small towns, and each municipality has its own team. And so we worked with them to set up a structure to play municipal tournaments, and then they played a provincial tournament, and they picked their all-star teams to play in the national tournament. There are 16 provinces in Cuba, so they had basically 16 provincial champions that come together, and it's that team that wins that tournament, which represents Cuba here at the Little League World Series. So there was a pretty good structure already in place, and it was just making a few little modifications to it to make sure it was all in compliance with our rules and regulations, and they were very happy to do all that. It really didn't take a whole lot to get that done. But it's when you also look at the situation, politically, it was a little bit of a challenge because in order for us to be able, as I think you may know, we provide all the costs for transportation and housing and everything for the teams to come, and we had to go through a pretty rigorous process with the Treasury Department to get a license from the Office of Foreign Asset Control to be able to do all of this. So that was a lot of bureaucracy involved, but we got it done, and we were able to do it. So what I feel really good about is the Cuban team is one of 20 teams here, and they're being treated just like everybody else. So very happy about that.
Obviously, communication is the sport of baseball that binds all the players together. does Little League do anything with translators and so forth, or are you relying on translators within the team with some of the languages that are spoken?
We really do both. When the teams all arrive, we do some things to get them introduced to each other away from the playing field right away. And it was interesting because I was down on the complex yesterday, and the Cuban team and the Australian team were both going down to fields to practice, and they were walking as a team down the hill. And about an hour later, I was kind of could see it out my office window. I watched them walk back up, and instead of walking as a team, all the kids were walking together. Some had their arms around each other, and then some, through technology, they've got their phones and they're using like Google Translate to talk to each other, and it's just fascinating to watch. And you see a lot of that in the Grove where they stay. That the kids from Japan or Taiwan talking to the kids from Mexico or Panama, wherever they might be, and they're translating through the translation apps so that they can communicate. And it's just really a wonderful thing. The Cuban coach told me when I met with him the other day that he said, we came here for two purposes: one, to play baseball, and two, to make friends. So that's what they're doing.
That's great. I have said for years that the single best event that ESPN does, ESPN ABC, in terms of how they approach it and how they carry it off, is the Little League World Series.
Thank you.
They do an exemplary job on it. Now, I'm not going to get into what I think of some other things they do, but this they're great at.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the partnership with them?
Oh, very good. We actually just extended it through 2030, so we have another 8 years. This is the first year of a new 8-year agreement with ESPN and ABC, and you know that you probably know better than many. How the whole linear television streaming world is changing almost daily, it seems. So there's some elements of that we're getting used to. But what it's done is it's allowed us to reach a much broader audience through some of their ESPN Plus streaming platform, and allows us to put more games on, and particularly for softball and some of our teenage divisions. So, we're able to get more exposure for the program, and give the kids that play at those levels some opportunities to play and play in an environment very similar to what we have here in Williamsport. But yeah, we have a very good relationship with them. They're great storytellers, and
yes.
An event like this, and with 20 teams, 10 international, and 10 from around the United States, there's plenty of stories to tell, and that's really what they do best, and that's how they approach it. Is baseball's sort of the vehicle through which they tell stories of these kids and their families and where they come from and all those kind of things, and I think that's what makes it compelling to people.
How have you felt about the growth of the softball series?
Phenomenal. We've made a commitment over the last number of years to try to elevate our Little League softball program, and I think we're making some strides toward that. This past year, we were able to have the championship game of the Little League Softball World Series televised on ABC actually yesterday. Yep. And we've entered into a partnership with a professional women's softball program called Athletes Unlimited, and very similar to the MLB Little League Classic game that we play here during the Little League Baseball World Series. The Athletes Unlimited organization brought their 4 teams of professional women to Greenville, North Carolina, and played a doubleheader, very similar to the Little League Classic here. Had their players over at our softball complex interacting with the young ladies playing in our Softball World Series. It was a phenomenal couple of days, and in fact, one of the young ladies playing in the AU program is a pitcher from Florida State named Catherine Sandercock. Well, Catherine 10 years ago played in the Little League Softball World Series out in Portland, Oregon, and so she was very popular among all the girls there that were playing. But just all of that has contributed to growing the softball program. In fact, next year in 2024, we're going to have a year-long initiative called Girls with Game 50, and we're going to celebrate 50 years since girls have been able to play Little League baseball, and then when the Little League softball program started. So it's going to be kind of a year-long celebration and promotion of the females in our program.
I've obviously been doing games between State College and Williamsport, and I've already seen the setup for the Phillies and Nationals game, which is coming up. What has the Little League, Major League Baseball Little League connection meant with the teams actually being out there sliding down the hill? Last year was the Orioles and the Red Sox, and this year it's the Phillies and the Nationals. What has that meant to the Little Leaguers and also to you in Little League that Major League Baseball has made this kind of commitment?
Well, first of all, we have a great relationship with Major League Baseball, and Commissioner Manfred, one of his mandates was to kind of get back to promoting the game at the grassroots level, growing the game at the grassroots level. And, they realize that the demographics of baseball fans is getting older, and they're really, focused on a youth movement. So anything they could do to, have more sort of connective tissue with youth baseball is what drove them to kind of create the MLB Little League Classic. What it's done for us is just a phenomenal day here in Williamsport on that Sunday when, it's kind of from early in the morning till 10 o'clock at night on the ESPN networks. It's all Little League, Major League Baseball, and then you have the interaction of the Major League guys when they come over here to our complex and spend a couple hours with the kids in the World Series, and then when our kids in the World Series, go watch them play that evening on Sunday Night Baseball. Just makes for a great atmosphere. And what I have noticed is that the Major League guys, we always have some teams to greet them when they get off the buses over here. Their eyes kind of light up when most of them have probably seen this on television, but many have never been here. And they start walking in here, and it's almost like it takes them back to when they were 12. And I'll give you an example. 2 years ago when the Angels were here, Mike Trout was on the injured list and didn't even have to make the trip, but he came anyway. Right. He got off the bus here and said, "I want to do everything." He went and sat in the dugout with the kids during the games. He wanted to go up and see where they play ping pong and they eat. And, of course, the kids were just enamored with him and Shohei Ohtani but it just shows you I guess there's this connection between, the older players and kids that you have in baseball that I don't know if you have that in a lot of other sports. It's just really noticeable in baseball, sort of the generational connections of the game.
Hey, you're still kids playing a game.
That's
Even
right.
if you're 30, it's still a kid's game. You're just getting a lot of money for it. And very quickly, Steve, when the fans show up, any differences they'll see, anything they should be aware of before they go?
Just some real nice improvements to our complex, the physical complex. We have a new sort of main entrance. We've streamlined security operations so that we don't have crowded long lines of people waiting to get in. We have some new parking arrangements. So I think people are going to notice a much better flow with the thousands of people who come, and it makes it for an even better experience for all the fans and the families that are here. So, hey, I have to tell you one thing too. Given your relationship with Penn State football, I don't know if you may not be aware of this, but on Saturday, August 26th is when we play our U.S. championship game here on ABC. And that is the one game where they actually broadcast the U.S. national anthem live. And this year, the singer for Golden Israel, Akumba, am I saying that right?
Achumba. Golden Israel Achumba.
Akumba.
Achumba.
Linebacker at Penn State is going to come down and sing the national anthem for us. So that'll be fun.
You'll love it. He does it a cappella.
Yeah. No, he's terrific.
You'll love talking with him. He's a great guy.
Good.
Hey, Steve, thank you so much. It's special what you guys do, and we appreciate what you do.
Well, I appreciate it, Steve. Always grateful for your interest in what we're doing, and hope you have a great season up at State College as well. Okay?
You have a great couple of weeks coming up. It's big.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.